A thick fog impedes your vision. You surmise this is in no small part why they call it the Bewildering Wood. Don't hold back. Fortune favors the bold. Many a brave soul has set foot in this wood, only to be swallowed up and never seen nor heard from again, the traveler intones gravely. They also tell of a certain tool one needs to get through this place. A message is written on the side. Seek out the Force Stela hidden deep in these woods. That was lucky. You have found the Southern Stela. You smack it and hear a sound off to the west. You'd best head that way next. Bunch of nuts fly off from the trees, but you and your friends hightailed it out of there before any of them could hit you. The man sighs, realizing he may never be able to escape with his current tool set. You have found the Western Stela, which you swear up and down was not here when you came in. Nevertheless, you give it a smack. The woman appears to be lost. How do I get out of here? She asks with furrowed brows. You hear a beautiful melody flowing from the forest depths. It sounds like singing, or perhaps bird song. Attributing it to your imagination, you decide to ignore it. A short moment later, the melody stops. You have found the Northern Stela. It doesn't look particularly special. You resolve to touch it anyhow. The next Stela is, you hear someone murmuring. It sounds like a man, but you can't really be sure in these woods. Your body is soothed by the gentle tone. It feels as though your fatigue has somehow washed away. You have found the Eastern Stela. You see the words Melody of Fortune chiseled into the corner. You have investigated all 4 of the Stela in the bewildering wood. You hear a sound, and it's not all that far away. I need to hit the Stela every single time I want to go home. What a pain, the frowning woman sighs. fight. You examine the stela. The message carved into the stela reads, "Play in tune with the forest." You hold the woodland flute you received from the good doctor in Thriston. Doot 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 doodly, doot 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 doo. You blow a handful of pleasant enough notes into the woodland flute. You soon become aware of accompanying percussion, which reveals itself to be a series of impeccably timed footfalls racing toward you. A young woman appears before you. "That was absolutely dreadful," she whinges, her jaunty gait betraying her enjoyment. She calls herself Ridis and declares herself a woodlander, resident of the bewildering wood. By sheer coincidence, the flute on which you played those notes was one designed to call the woodland people to your side. Stunned by your good fortune, you ask Ridis to lead you eastward out of the forest. What luck! She agrees far more readily than you ever anticipated. But, she continues, extending her hand, you'll have to hand over the woodland flute first. That'll cost you 1,000 gold pieces, you say smugly. Ugh, it's always about money with you travelers, she snorts derisively. Her face contorts in disgust. She reaches into her cloak. Hey, what about my money? You stammer. Before you can finish your thought, Mar's tongue whips across your hand, snatching the fruit and sliding it into his gullet. Ridis gasps. How could you let him do that? Just one of those fruits sells for 10,000 gold pieces, she shouts. So you can pay me back for the fruit your little friend stole, or you can hand over that flute, she says, pressing her case. I think you've lost this one, Melanie says, snickering. You look down at Mar, who seems quite pleased with himself. I suppose I have, you sigh in resignation. You begrudgingly hand the woodland flute to Ridis. Ridis plucks the woodland flute out of your hands with glee and begins playing it as she skips away. Well, playing is a generous term. It sounds as though she may as well be murdering the poor thing. Ridis makes it's that-a-way, Ridis says gleefully, pointing past the stela before you. You take a peek inside the grass and immediately find the owner of the voice. It's a harpy. It seems like the harpy hasn't yet noticed you. You pick up a rock and throw it at the monster's feet. Startled, the monster flaps its wings and flies away. You find some coins scattered about where it stood. Welcome to Woodland, Ridus says, gesturing out over the village. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm quite busy for the rest of the day, so you'll have to wait till tomorrow to leave the forest, she says, and makes her way home. Welcome to the Forest Oasis, the man greets you warmly. You happen upon a man greedily guzzling well water. Could it truly be that much better than ordinary water? The boy praises you, proffering a gift in commemoration of your win. You learn that Ridus's family is mired in debt and living hand to mouth. And I know how they got in so much trouble, the rumor mongerer says deliciously. We are not in the business of meddling in the personal affairs of others, Melanie says curtly, cutting her off. Apparently, she's heard rumors of the dragon destroying another town somewhere. Our village would burn down so easily, she mutters, perhaps a bit more afraid of the symptom than the cause. This shortcut is reserved for use by woodland citizens only, the guard barks, clearly unwilling to let you pass. You take note of a woman who appears quite ill. As it turns out, she is none other than Ridus's mother. She is in no small amount of pain. Will you give her something to ease her suffering? The item you've proffered has no effect on her, but I appreciate the thought all the same. Ridis's mother hands you mysterious card 3 as a token of her gratitude. She begins speaking of Ridis, who has been preparing the medicine that helps her get through the day. She blames her illness, and therefore herself, for making Ridis's life so difficult. The more she talks, the more her face drops. Ridis pores over a book while practicing on the woodland flute. She remains dreadful at it. The instant you begin speaking, she nearly leaps out of her skin and hides the book. She somehow hadn't noticed you. I thought you were the debt collectors. You can't sneak up on me like that, she stammers, struggling to regain her composure. Been a while since we've had any outsiders, the innkeeper says, beckoning the party inside. It turns out this inn is simply a place where the poor, lost souls trapped in the bewildering wood may recover. You may stay as long as you like, free of charge. The wooden dining table practically groans under the weight of the platters upon it, all brimming with meats and vegetables from the bewildering wood. I've certainly earned this, you say to yourself, as you slide into your seat at the table, positively drooling over the feast before you. Melanie takes no note of your boorish behavior, uttering a small prayer of thanksgiving before reaching for a plate of vegetables. Mar sits, eyes fixed on the food upon the table, statuesque in his stillness. What a good boy. Mar clears the entire table in a matter of seconds, even emptying the water barrel in a single gulp. He lets out a self-satisfied burp that sends a small jet of just-drank water arcing out onto the floor. The sun sinks low, and the day draws to a close. A scream pierces the silence. Fire! You leap out of bed, adrenaline coursing through your veins. The others follow suit, and before long you've burst through the front door and into the street. Ridis's house is ablaze, a nearby villager screams. Someone save our poor village, prays the man, his eyes fixed upon Ridis's smoldering home. Douse the flames with water, shouts the man. Water from the well. Fire or no fire, ain't nobody allowed past, says the gatekeeper, stubbornly refusing to let you through. The dragon's going to burn down our village next, cries the girl, as if the world is ending around her. From a distance, the woman watches Ridis's house burn, despair on her face. "My mother is still inside," Ridis shrieks, darting past you to fetch water from the well south of the village. Ridis is gathering water in an attempt to fight the blaze all on her own. Mar's eyes light up. He scrambles over the edge of the well and sucks the well dry in an instant. He pokes at his swollen belly and gestures toward Ridis's house, as if to say, "Get me back there, quick." "Quickly, put it out. You have to put it out," Ridis screams at Mar. Mar douses the house with the water he sucked up from the well. The fire is reduced to mere embers, and all is well. Or so you think. Something darts out from behind the house and attacks. That was lucky. the fiery beast dispatched, you return to putting out the last of the blaze with Mars' help. Ridis's mother, now safe, tells you the creature came out of nowhere and set the house aflame. What would bring a creature of fire to a place like this, you wonder? Light breaks on a new day, and the commotion of the fire feels but a nightmare. You lead your party to Ridis's house to ask for safe passage out of the bewildering wood. You follow the curious sounds to their source, our resident well water lover, digging at the dry well with his bare hands. He digs and digs, but no water is forthcoming. What's worse, he has injured his hand in the process. Melanie beseeches you to help the poor man. But well digging was forbidden by our ancestors long ago. You've heard the legends, you protest. How is that the best lie you can come up with? She snaps back, appalled. The man turns towards you both, oblivious to the squabble playing out before him. Do you have any salve that might ease my pain, he asks. You hand the man some salve. The instant he applies it to his hands, he resumes his furious digging, this time punctuated with shouts of "I feel incredible." Not long after that, water erupts from the ground with a force unlike any you've seen. He sidles up to the jet of water and begins drinking from it as one would from a fountain. He is once again in his element. The man hands you mysterious card 4 to show his appreciation for the salve. Apparently, she's heard rumors of the dragon destroying another town somewhere. The girl heaves a sigh of relief after learning the fire wasn't the dragon's doing. This road takes you to the east side of the bewildering wood, but you'd be hard-pressed to find your way without a woodlander's help, the guard warns. You didn't hear it from me, but the cause of the fire was, she whispers baseless gossip in your ear. Though spared from complete collapse, Ridis's home has been thoroughly scorched. Ridis's mother tells you she was once deceived by a crooked merchant and plunged into debt. Ridis has been working to repay the debt ever since her mother took ill. You lightly press your thumb and forefinger to the corner of each eye, a mixture of sadness and anger swirling within you. Riddis sits alone in one of its rooms, the air thick with the smell of char. There shouldn't be any fire creatures for miles, she grumbles. She says the monster appeared while she was playing the woodland flute last night. As to why any monsters, let alone fire monsters, appeared, well, despite the circumstances, you ask Riddis to lead you out of the bewildering wood as promised. I did promise that, didn't I? She says wearily, rising from her seat. The poor girl is clearly still in shock. Why do you want to venture out beyond the bewildering wood anyway? She inquires, as she gathers this and that in preparation to leave. We are in search of the dragon, you say valiantly, adding, the reward will be significant should we defeat him. Honesty is the best policy. Sounds like a real risky way to make a living, she replies flatly, feigning interest. A group of Ivory Order people came through here just the other day, she explains. You connect the dots with malice. Those three, you seethe. At last, Riddis is ready to depart for the edge of the bewildering wood. Drinks from the wellspring as if his life depends on it, and in one sense, it absolutely does. He falls onto his back, utterly engorged. A small stream of water issues forth from his mouth, a pale imitation of the wellspring he discovered. Upon seeing that Riddis is with you, he steps aside and lets you through. The eastern portion of the woods certainly does not want for thick, soupy fog. Turn away, ready to lead the party deeper into the bewildering wood. Wait just a moment, you lot, calls the voice of an older man from somewhere behind you. Riddis appears to be familiar with him. She calls him Mr. O. Here you are, young lady, he says, handing her a slip of paper. Dear. Further, Mr. O explains, Riddis did not have a fire insurance policy at the time of the conflagration, and so she shall have to pay in full. I'll thank you kindly to pay by the end of the month. Bye now, Mr. O says, receding from view as he returns to the forest. Hee hee. Riddis lets out a bemused chuckle, her demeanor remarkably calm for what has just transpired. She pulls the woodland flute from her cloak and begins softly playing. Riddis's ear-splitting performance, shall we say, draws monsters out from behind the trees. Within moments, they are nearly upon you. Good work. That's odd. I must have made a mistake, Riddis says, burying her face in her old book once more. She opens the book to a particular page and thrusts it in your face. You can't tell anyone in the village I let you see this, okay? It's a page of sheet music with a note scrawled beside it that reads, "Play this lucky tune to reverse your financial fortunes and make money woes a thing of the past." No matter how many times I played this last night, our debt never went down, she fumes, incensed. You inspect the page a bit more carefully. Off in a corner, in letters so small as to be illegible, another message reads, "May summon monsters if played incorrectly." You finally see that so long as Riddis holds the flute, this is nothing more than a monster conjuring melody. You snatch the woodland flute from her hands. You have lost your flute-playing privileges, you inform her. "But I'll never escape from this mountain of debt without it," she cries, clearly still believing in the melody of fortune. Melanie quietly opines that while Riddis is many things, bright is not one of them. Nice work. Good work. As if drawn in by the voice. Why won't the right words come to me, she laments, her fingers stopping on the strings. Hearing her sigh, you offer to help her with her song. Very well then. Please finish this verse, she responds, then begins to sing. A fiery shout to overcome the cold. Taking your words as ridicule, the woman's eyes suddenly grow dark. How dare you insult my song? You will pay for this atrocity in blood, she exclaims, then attacks. Don't hold back. How pitiful I am, brought to my knees in these woods, defeated by savage adventurers. What an epic song that would be. Seemingly satisfied, the woman succumbs to slumber. You decide to part ways from this woman, hopefully never to meet again. And fight. Ritis chirps, pushing overgrown boughs and shrubs aside. As she does, a hidden path out of the bewildering wood comes into view. At last, you are free of the bewildering wood. Praise the power of the Woodlanders, you squeal in admiration of Ritis. She giggles bashfully. You've certainly kept your promise, you say. Thank you for showing us the way. I was hoping I could join you on your quest to defeat the dragon, Ritis suddenly blurts out. She takes out her old book and thrusts another page in your face. This week's creature of fortune is the dragon. Boons may befall those who encounter him. Melanie's jaw goes slack. What is the deal with this book? Melanie asks, bewildered. I can probably pay off my debt if we can just defeat the dragon, Ritis chirps, revealing her true intentions. No, I won't dilute my share of the riches any further. No more additions to the party, you bark. Have you no heart? Are you just going to leave a young helpless girl like me to drown in an ocean of debt and deal with that crusty old man? Ritis fires back relentlessly. I want to go. No. So goes the endless chorus of your thoroughly unproductive argument. Melanie calmly reminds you that the party in its current form stands little chance of defeating the dragon. See, you need me, Ritis says, sensing an opportunity. Your well-reasoned argument of no thwarted, you nod your head in resignation and welcome Ritis to the party. Let's do this. excellent. An armor-clad knight stands, exuding an extraordinarily powerful aura. The knight faces you and asks, "Might you be challengers?" But after sizing you up for a long moment, his shoulders slump and he mutters, "No, you are not yet ready. Grow strong, young ones," he says, then returns to standing in silence. It appears he awaits a stalwart warrior to challenge him. "Watch out," your friends cry, as something comes hurtling straight at your face. But you keep your cool. Your friends gasp as you catch whatever it is before it clobbers you. You come across two men sitting on a rock. They take no notice of you or the party, but you can hear their fervent discussion. You listen in and deduce that they are a pair of thieves. You lean in, trying to hear what else the thieves are talking about. You catch pieces of the conversation here and there. Listen about that loot. Head south from the harbor and cross the mountains. It sounds like they've just told you where to find their stolen loot. You hastily grab a scrap of paper, write down what you've heard, and quietly sneak away. Let's do this. Excellent. Look, you two, it's the sea, Ridis exclaims, frolicking in glee. You, on the other hand, trudge along as far as you can from the coast, ignoring the hair sticking to your forehead. Feeling something at your feet, you glance down. There's something underneath your boot. It appears you've stepped on a monster's cape, making it very upset. It attacks you in fury. Don't hold back. Excellent. Fortune favors the bold. Nice work. Oh? You pick up a scrap of paper dropped by some manner of monster. It has a message scrawled on it in crude lettering. Clearly, whoever dropped you stashed the scrap of paper in your pack and resolved to keep an eye out for the treasure on your travels. Nice work. That was lucky. Nice work. Excellent. Something's catching the sunlight just so. You move closer to get a better look at it. You find a chest lodged in the hollow of a tree. Something about this feels familiar. Sure enough, this is the location those thieves mentioned when you were eavesdropping. Quite convinced you've found their stash, you open the chest with a self-satisfied smirk on your face. out the enemy. Excellent. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. A monster appears. Rather, you approach it, because the poor thing's paralyzed from head to toe. You may be able to aid it by administering some curative. You would help it if you could, but you have no curative on hand. Unable to do anything more, you keep walking. You're in luck. I have some rare items for sale, she remarks, lining up some goods before you. She begins closing her shop, saying she needs to stock up on wares again. It seems you won't be able to do any more shopping here. You come across a gaping hole in the ground. A sign beside it depicts a piece of armor, followed by, "Do not drop this in the hole." It's only human to want to do exactly what you're told not to. However willing you might be, you don't have the armor depicted, so you walk away. Let's head to Unionville first, shall we? Looks like you try to say hello, but she wanders off without even registering your presence. Don't hold back. fight. Don't hold back. Fortune favors the bold. And fight. did great. see something approaching from up ahead. A monster, Melanie shouts, readying for battle. Mr. Flobby, get back here. It's dangerous out there, a young girl chides, taking the creature back to the village. It seems you've finally arrived at Unionville, a village where humans and monsters live together in peace. What a weird place, remarks Ridis lightheartedly. I like it. We aren't staying a moment longer than necessary, says an unsettled Melanie, her distaste for monsters plain on her face. The woman frowns deeply, claiming the cakes she bought for her beloved furball have all been eaten by someone else. A quiet furball sits with crumbs around its mouth. Wow, a new friend, and so big, too, the furball exclaims in glee as it rushes over to Mar. Mar stares off into the distance as the furball snuggles up to his leg. For some reason, Riddis joins in on the cuddling. Lately, a suspicious man cloaked in black has been seen wandering about the village outskirts. The old woman looks at Melanie and remarks that he was dressed just like her. The village headman is a renowned gourmet, and rumor has it he only dines on the finest foods. The man says he wishes he too could have such a lavish meal just once in his life, his deep desire for delicacies only growing with time. The little orc child is engrossed in a fairy tale. The title reads, The Legend of the Dragon. You take a peek into the picture book and come across a passage that piques your interest. To where, you wonder, then recall that this is merely a fairy tale. However does your mouth become so filthy, Mr. Flobby? Sighs the girl as she wipes the slime clean. Clearly embarrassed, Mr. Flobby murmurs, "That's not my mouth." A young boy wanders up to your group in wide-eyed wonder. You surmise his curiosity stems from the lack of travelers visiting the village. You realize you are right when he assails you with questions about your origins and adventures. The Inquisition leaves you exhausted. The little goblin sulks as he gazes upon the withering flowers he tried so desperately to take care of. He looks at you with tears in his eyes, silently begging you for help. You pour the salve onto the flowers, and they stand up tall. The goblin cries out in happiness and thanks you for your help. He then holds something out to you. The goblin stares lovingly at the beautiful flowers and gobbles them up. "Healthy flowers are the tastiest," he proclaims in glee. Did he grow those flowers just to eat them? The goblin dutifully tends his flower bed, eagerly anticipating the day they bloom. You ask the old man if he knows anything about the dragon. "No, sir," he answers. "All I know is that it brings more trouble to this already troubled world. But our headman is a wise and worldly man. He might know something," he remarks, pointing at a house not far away. The child says his monster friend left the village suddenly to go back home. He claims the headman told him that he could go home when he grew up too. The little orc child pouts, "But I don't know where my home is." "Travelers," you hear a voice call from somewhere. "Down here, at thy feet." You look down to see a small clump of fur by your boots. The clump of fur speaks. "I am Lappy, and I should like to journey forth with thee." Lappy the furball looks at you with amiable expectations. "The more the merrier," you exclaim, pumping your fist energetically into the air. But Melanie coldly interjects, "No, I can't trust monsters." Thoroughly rejected by Melanie, Lappy bursts into tears. Lappy says he has no friends because of his aged face and speech. All alone, he decided to leave the village on a journey. Your party is silenced by the crying child with the face of a grown man. You tell Melanie to be nice and quip that both she and Lappy could use a friend. Exhausted from arguing with you, Melanie half-heartedly agrees. "Fine, we can be friends." However, she says that they are on a dangerous journey to defeat the dragon. As such, they cannot take a child with them. Lappy leaps up and hugs her in his excitement, exclaiming, "Thou hast made me so happy." "Till next time," Melanie says, peeling Lappy off of her and placing him on the ground. Though she thought all monsters to be evil, Melanie feels that the ones here are different. Finally, a friend. You bow, but before you can speak, the man suddenly introduces himself as the village headman. He laughs, then shamelessly praises his own village as being wondrous and peaceful. "And who are you?" he asks. After explaining that you are on a quest to defeat the dragon, the headman invites you to rest your feet a bit in his village. He says that he had heard rumors of the dragon when he traveled the world. "You must be tired from your journey. Have a seat. I will have my chef prepare a feast," the headman says, then claps his hands twice to summon a stewardess. Extravagant dishes that you have never seen before are placed on the table before you, each one looking more... "You're drooling," Melanie scowls. You hadn't even noticed. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve, then gasp as you turn to Mar. Perhaps in an attempt to hold himself back, Mar is gnawing on the table corner. There, we'll eat soon, you reassure Mar while gently stroking his head. The doors fly open in the next instant, and a girl runs in. With tears in her eyes, she tells you that her dear companion, Mr. Flobby the Slime, is missing. The headman's eyes go wide in surprise. "We must find that slime right away," he says anxiously. "You are starving, but it doesn't look like you'll be able to partake of the feast before you because of Mr. Flobby's disappearance." "We will find your slime, and then we feast," you add quietly. Melanie reminds you that you are here to get clues about the dragon from the headman. What's the difference? Literally everything. Hunger taking its toll, you two begin to argue. "Brave heroes," the headman interjects, then bows his head. "Would you please find her slime?" It appears the story has hit a standstill until you find the missing Mr. Flobby. You need to hear the whole story from the young girl. Melanie's friend Lappy is here. Lappy cuddles up to Melanie. Despite her hatred of monsters, Melanie doesn't seem to mind. The girl sobs, wailing about the missing Mr. Flobby. Melanie places her hand atop the girl's head and promises that your party will find her companion. The girl then hands something to Melanie. It looks like the muddy handkerchief she used to wipe Mr. Flobby. She asks Melanie to wipe Mr. Flobby with it after you find him. The girl claims to have searched the village but cannot find her friend anywhere. Regardless, looking aimlessly outside the village would be a waste of time. You decide to collect more information in the village. Having no interest in children's picture books, you continue on your way. She says she saw a suspicious man in black with a slime outside the village not long ago. She claims they went northwest together. Did that man take Mr. Flobby? You resolve to leave the village in search of the pair. Though a torch is not strictly necessary, it would certainly help you find your way through the dimly lit shrine. footing is obscured in the dimness of the shrine. You should probably proceed with caution. I think you made the right choice. You take a good look at the floor and see it lined in trails of viscous liquid. No doubt a slime or 200 have passed through here. It looks like poor Mr. Flobby is being held captive by the Mystery Man. Hand over that slime, you shout to the man in the dark. You speak as if I kidnapped him, he remarks, curtly turning to face you. When your eyes finally adjust to the surrounding darkness, you realize the man's clothes look eerily similar to Melanie's. Melanie's mouth falls open in surprise. It seems the man has noticed Melanie as well. It looks like the two know each other. The man says that he and Melanie came from the same village, where this was their native dress. The man's revelation makes you realize that you know almost nothing about Melanie's past. You ask her if he is a childhood friend, but she holds her tongue. Then the man speaks. With forbidden magic, our clan has ensured the dragon, he begins, when Melanie cuts in. She rattles on about the man, telling you that he is Vince, a lunatic obsessed with the dragon. Vince resentfully claims that he is searching for the noble dragon to protect it. You ran away from home with your tail between your legs, he ridicules. Enraged, Melanie lunges at Vince. You have so many questions, but realize that the most pressing matter is getting Mr. Flobby back. So you ready for battle? Careful, he won't go down easy. During the fight, Vince asks, "Do you know the truth about that village?" The headman may look like a nice old man, but he keeps those little monsters around too. He begins, but before he can finish, Winifred, Hedwyn, and Berwin of the Ivory Order appear. The three brush you aside, fixing their attention on Vince. "So you are the one who disturbs the peace," they exclaim, then charge at him. The Ivory Order and that false justice they serve are the true evil here, he retaliates, fighting back. Seeing the two parties occupied with each other, you realize this is your chance to grab Mr. Flobby. Perhaps wary of humans, Mr. Flobby dashes out when you draw near. Vince is on equal footing with the three from the Order. You realize then that he wasn't fighting in earnest against you earlier. Engrossed in their battle, the combatants pay you no mind. When you reach out to grab Mr. Flobby, he suddenly attacks. Lower Mr. Flobby's stamina to calm him down. Exhausted from the fight, the raging Mr. Flobby finally stops attacking. But it seems he hasn't yet come to his senses. He glares warily at your party. Find something to help return Mr. Flobby to normal. You wipe Mr. Flobby's mouth with the handkerchief you received from the girl. Then you hear a quiet voice speak. "That's not my mouth," Mr. Flobby murmurs bashfully. It looks like the girl's familiar scent on the handkerchief returned him to normal. Having regained his senses, Mr. Flobby heads back to the village. You place the increasingly sticky handkerchief in your bag. Lappy approaches and tells you that Mr. Flobby has returned. I knew thou could do it, cries Lappy, wrapping around Melanie. The girl is ecstatic that Mr. Flobby is finally back home. I'm happy for you, Melanie says with a smile as she returns the handkerchief. The girl bows her head and thanks you deeply. Mr. Flobby looks as slimy as ever. You just hope it's a happy slime. The headman wants us to bring Mr. Flobby to him. Would you mind, you ask? Of course not. But bring him back soon, she answers with a bright smile. The indiscriminately wary woman narrows her eyes at your group and says, "Now that I think about it, you all look suspicious to me." "I am so happy to see you safe and sound," the headman exclaims, giving Mr. Flobby a hug. You explain everything that happened, including the incident with Vince and the Ivory Order. He expresses his relief that the Order will be taking care of the criminal. He then thanks you for your hard work and instructs his stewardess to prepare dinner for your party. You can feel your collective mouths watering at the sight of the lavish meal before you. You, Mar, and Ridus immediately dig in. You aren't sure where you find a moment to breathe among all the feasting. "Please, eat to your heart's content," the headman insists with a smile. Once your belly is full, you realize that Mr. Flobby is gone. And then, "Room for dessert?" the headman asks, offering you a plate of slimy jelly. You feel your stomach churning at the very sight of it. The color strikes you as familiar, and the stickiness sends a shiver down your spine. Is this Mr. Flobby?" you ask the headman, your voice trembling in disbelief. The headman looks at you with a plain expression, one that holds no malice. "Is that a problem?" he questions back. "This dish is a masterpiece," he remarks with a light-hearted chuckle as he gazes at the jelly. "And I have you brave heroes to thank for it. Had you not brought that slime back, we would not be able to enjoy this exquisite dessert." "Are you full?" he asks, seemingly concerned at your silence. "It would be a shame to let something so splendid go to waste." You move to leave, but the headman stops you. "I try to get my meat while it's still young and tender, but at least your pet is very plump," he remarks, licking his lips. He points at Mar and asks, "Would you consider leaving that creature here with me?" Never, you refuse flatly, not bothering to hide your discomfort. Think about it, he entreats. And then you grab the headman by his lapels, hands trembling in fury. About the enemy. Pummel the headman with all your might. Curled up on the ground, the headman groans in pain, but insists that monsters were meant to be eaten. You hug Mar tightly, reassuring him that you will not hand him over to anyone. Mar looks at you with his round eyes and mews softly. You meet eyes with the rest of your party and reach a tacit agreement. Together, you all stand and leave. His consciousness fading, the headman asks, "What did I do?" As you are about to leave the headman's house, though, the old man suddenly charges at you from behind. But Mar, the keener of you two, is quick to block his path. With a crash, Mar and the headman tumble to the ground. From the headman's hand falls a small blade. It clatters to the ground, covered in blood. You take the injured Mar to an inn where you can watch over him. You gaze at the unconscious Mar with concern. Despite the shallow wound, no amount of medicine seems to rouse Mar from the bed. "I heard that my friends were in danger, so I came as quickly as I could," Lappy says. As he reaches Mar's bedside, he leans over and licks his wound. "This is what-you-call-it extract," he shouts. He explains that it is a poison extracted from a certain monster. If it enters the body, it drastically reduces one's stamina. Hearing those words, you realize the headman's blade must have been coated in this poison. Mar's condition starts to make sense. "Isn't there anything we can do?" Melanie asks. Lappy's eyes widen in realization before he places his mouth over Mar's wound and begins sucking. He then puts the what-you-call-it extract into a bottle and hands it to you. Lappy says that if you follow the road south of the village, you will reach Shoreland. He tells you to give the extract to the famous nutritionist there. Realizing that you are at fault for this, you don't hesitate to undertake the quest. But this is strange. The extract comes from a monster, so it should have no effect on one, Lappy remarks with a curious tilt of his head. He urges you to hurry on to Shoreland and find the nutritionist. I thought a beast of that size would eat us out of house and home, she remarks, no doubt talking about Mar. The girl sighs. "You're dirty again," she says, wiping a slime's mouth. "Mr. Flobby, you're alive," you exclaim in glee. "This is Mr. Globby, Mr. Flobby's cousin," she tells you. The girl sighs. "You're dirty again," she says, wiping Mr. Flobby's cousin, Mr. Globby. The headman's guilt. The man looks sad, saying he cannot believe no one realized he was eating children. The little orc pouts, wondering where the headman went in such a hurry. With a whoosh of displaced air, something shoots across the path right in front of you. What is that thing? Glancing in the direction it went, you see some sort of bottle on the ground. You head over for a closer look. It's a bottle of medicine, just like you thought. It'd be a waste to just leave it there, so you pick it up and put it in your pack.